Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
Happy Wednesday, America. Thanks for joining us today. You know what? I always say lots to talk about. I don't have a lot to talk about, but I have a lot to say about a few things.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, it's been a while, but as he says, that I should say, my brother from another black mother, of course my mother's not black, but my pal, Watson Prunier, who also has a show on the Lanterns Network Sunday nights. But Watson will be joining us, Jessica, at the bottom of the hour. We haven't talked to Watson for a while.
No, we haven't, but I am sure he has a lot to say. He is also a never Trumper, so there you go.
He is. And you know what? I was telling you before we came on air, I was in the middle of writing something several hours ago. Excuse me. And my phone rang, and I looked at the number, and I have this habit of if I don't know who's on the other end, I don't answer it. And if it's important, they'll leave a voicemail, and if it's not, then I don't have to mess with it. So I thought, well, what the hell, because it's Indianapolis. And it was Watson. I did not and I thought I had him in as a contact, but his name did not show up. So we were talking about this stuff, the Never Trumper stuff and whatever. And we decided almost simultaneously, you know what, like we used to talk about this stuff on air quite a bit, so why don't we just save this and toss it on the show? So I'm looking forward to that.
I think it'll be a lot of fun. Watson's great. I love him.
I love Watson to death. I just told him he was complaining about running out of space in his minivan a month or so ago. And I said, I have a very simple solution for you. Quit having kids.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good way to fix it.
Yeah. Anyway, looking forward to that. So did you watch the debate?
I did.
Did you watch it online? Or no, you went to, no, we talked about it. Yeah.
I watched it on TV.
Yeah, we talked about it on Facebook. So, so again, what did you think?
I mean, I definitely think Hillary won by all accounts. But I also think that she had a lot of help.
She had a lot of help.
Yeah.
What'd you think about her condescension?
Oh, no, I think that's one thing that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about. But that really, really cheeseburger fake smile, I don't think did her any favors.
And it was even worse than that. I mean, do you think Hillary appealed to anybody that didn't like her going into the debate?
I don't think so. I mean,
no.
Yeah, and the thing is that she was hammering Trump for not having a plan or anything, but all she talked about the whole time was how terrible Trump is. And
there was nothing new
like,
from
how
Hillary.
You gonna tell me, yeah. I was like, how do you have a plan that if you're not talking about it, and then he doesn't have a plan? I mean, nobody has a plan.
And how do you rail against what's going on in this country? How do we need to fix this and fix that and whatever when your guy's been in there for 8 years and your other guy was in there for 8 years? So 12 out of the last 18 years, your guy, one of the two of them, has been there.
Honestly, the most glaring one to me was when she kept railing him on not releasing his tax returns. What do you have to hide about that you don't want to show your tax returns? And all I could think of is, well, what did you have to hide with those 33,000 emails you deleted? I mean,
see, you hit one of the nails on the head. One of the ways Trump screwed up was he felt a need. I don't know if it's just knee jerk or whatever, but anything she hit him with, he felt a need to beat it to death to defend himself. And that's a losing tactic. What he needed to do, and you just illustrated an example of it, whatever she hit him on, he needed to just like water off a duck's back, and he needed to go after her about something that's a weakness of her relative to that question. Like when she was picking on him about the former Miss Universe, right? Yeah. The things that he said about women. Hello, the way that you trashed Monica Lewinsky and Jennifer Flowers and Juanita Broderick and what your husband did to a young intern in the Oval Office. He kind of alluded to it, but Rudy Giuliani yesterday suggested that he was too gentlemanly and he should have gone there because that opened that door.
Well, I do think that he, in a way, he was in an impossible situation because he even said that in the debate. He's like, I see your family there, and there's things I could have said that I'm not going to say, and I think he was in an impossible situation because if he would have railed on her as hard as she was hitting him, then the narrative would have been, oh, look how much of a bully he is.
You know what? Too bad. At this point, too bad. I mean, I agree with Rudy. I agree with Rudy Giuliani. He was too gentlemanly. Here's another example.
But if you
go ahead.
No, at the beginning when he was hitting her back hard because he did really well at the beginning.
He got
that's all
real.
People were saying were that he was just being a bully right then, and he was just talking over her because I did hear that. So I don't know what was the right answer there, but it definitely wasn't what he did.
Here's another one. She's going on and on about cybersecurity. Hillary Clinton with her private server. He should have shoved that completely down her throat. He referenced the 33,000. I'll release them when you release the 33,000 deleted emails. But
that was one that drove me crazy. Right at the end when they were asking about Russia hacking all this stuff. And Lester Holt was the one that he started. Oh,
we'll talk about Lester Holt in a minute. But yeah,
he did that, and then I was just like, that was a complete missed opportunity because that could have been totally the moment that won the debate, like the mic drop. If he would have been like, what would I do about cybersecurity? I definitely wouldn't use private email servers. If he would have just said that,
absolutely.
It would have been mic drop. That's it. Over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, he has shown a propensity to do that kind of stuff in the past, at a rally or whatever. He just, he got more and more, I think he became almost unglued. I mean, it was written all over his face. I said to somebody, I had a thread going on Facebook as those of us who were on that thread were watching and commenting, but he started looking almost Nixonian as it relates to the JFK debate in 1960. He was extremely uncomfortable looking, and that weird sniffing thing. People have talked about mic compression and the whole bit, but it just, what? He might have not sounded like he sucked as bad, or might not have come across that he sucked as bad as I think he did if I was even just listening to it versus watching it, because it was terrible. It was terrible. Now, having said that, he didn't move the needle, and neither did she. Hillary did not endear herself to anyone that said, hey, you know what? We heard she wasn't likable, but no.
No, that definitely didn't. I mean, that was the only thing. That's why I said the smiling, and I know why she did it, too, is because they wanted to make her not look so stern. That was also the reason why they wanted the audience to be quiet the whole time, so
sure.
She never got into her shriek mode.
But even some of her comments, all righty then, or whatever the hell she said a couple of times, and then she was just as bad Tuesday. I mean, just gloating. There's one thing to feel confident, but gloating, and it's just it could come back to haunt her. But at the end of the day, I don't think either one of them changed anybody's minds.
Oh, I definitely don't. Well, that was the thing that I was talking to with a friend. And they were like, Hillary definitely won this debate. And this is a person that's a super Trump supporter. He's like, yeah, Hillary definitely won this debate.
Right. Uh-huh.
But it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. It's not going to change my vote. So
it doesn't matter to people.
Yeah, it doesn't. So that's what I noticed, too.
No, it's not going to. And who knows? Maybe Trump will get a little sympathy vote. But speaking of Lester Holt, he was in effect the third debater. He might as well have saddled up next to Hillary. I mean, he fact checked Trump 4 times. He fact checked Hillary 0 times. And he went Candy Crowley squared on Trump. First time was about the tax returns, right? He's hammering him about the tax returns, does that fact checking, got all over him about stop and frisk, and then Hillary piled on. I have these in a post. The birtherism thing, I thought that was, he was Holt was fairly strident when he was grilling Trump about that's not his job.
I thought for the most part, Lester Holt, I think he lost control of the debate completely.
Well, there were times when Trump
it wasn't even just Trump. Both of them were completely ignoring him.
Well, and that's happened in primary debates as well.
I've never seen it like whereas they had gone over, I mean, like 5 minutes over talking over him. So I don't know.
I thought it was humorous, although I knew it was true. And if you didn't know the facts, you wouldn't have known. But when Lester fact checks him on the Iraq War thing, Trump fact checked him back, and Trump was right. And I'll tell you what, maybe if he had asked Hillary about 3 subjects that anyone going into this thing would have thought, surely he's going to ask her about these. You know what they are, right? He did not ask her about one question about the email server, Benghazi, or the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, that's that. Well, I expected that to happen. That was ridiculous, but
that's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable, but not. And the Republicans, damn it, they deserve this because they let this happen every cycle. Candy Crowley. We have Martha Raddatz coming up next. She'll make Lester Holtz look like a choir boy. And I like Lester Holtz. He is supposedly, although I don't believe it after last night, he's supposedly a registered Republican.
I mean, he could be a registered Republican, and he also could be a never Trumper. Who knows? I mean, that's something that could. That's the other elephant in the room. If you say, like, there's people that want him to fail on what supposedly is his side. So who knows? Well,
the CEO of NBC Universal, whose name escapes me and I don't care, made a comment. I don't know if it was a tweet or somebody, probably a journalist tweeted what he said, but it was a direct quote. It was something to the effect that, at the end of the night, Lester Holt did a good job. Well, and of course, maybe Lester felt, heck, if he can make the boss happy, what else is there, right? I mean, maybe he walks a tight. I don't know, but I just thought to myself, this happens every time. Would the Democrats ever agree to even somebody like Chris Wallace, who I think is pretty, to use Fox's moniker, fair and balanced? I think he would be fair and balanced. Democrats would never agree to that. Just Chris Wallace, okay, or just Brit Hume. They'll obviously during the primaries when Fox hosts the debate. Of course, the Democrats didn't go there, but those guys are on. But the Democrats would never agree to that in a presidential debate. So I don't know. I felt like I needed to take a shower when the thing was over with. I just felt like.
I felt like it was very cringeworthy. I thought even though Hillary won, I thought both of them, it was a hot mess. It's just how I felt. It was a
hot mess, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump could win for losing. Again, we've talked about this in other contexts before. His people just don't care. Yeah. They don't care. And I don't think either one of them moved the needle. It'll be interesting to see what real polls say. Scientific, randomly selected respondents. And of course, Trump, I wrote it, which I hate to say this way because you know how modest I am, but I wrote an outstanding article about this morning. And it was only outstanding because I grabbed some cool Trump tweets and an awesome video from Crowdhammer last night, which we don't have time to play today because we have a guest. But Fox News this morning, Jessica, no, actually they did it yesterday. They told the online talent, I was looking for the name, that stop using them, stop citing those. They're called snap polls. Mm-hmm. And those are you and I have talked about them, those online polls where it was no different than fans of a singer on, the Voice banging away at the keyboard as much as they can. Trump loves those things. Loves them. He quotes them all the time. I mean, I'm looking at I'm not doing either one well. I'm trying to talk and get this up at the same time. But Trump, well, first of all, let me read what she wrote. Her name's Dana Blanton. This is a memo to Fox On Air talent yesterday. Mm-hmm. Dana Blanton, her name is. She's Fox News Vice President of Public Opinion Research. Told him to stop citing unscientific online post-debate polls. I ticked off a lot of Trump-a-loompas yesterday telling them that these polls were silly, but they are. Here's what she says, quote, as most of the publications themselves clearly state, the sample obviously can't be representative of the electorate because they only reflect the views of those internet users who have chosen to participate. She continues, news networks and other organizations go to great effort and rigor to conduct scientific polls for good reason. They know quick vote items posted on the web are nonsense, not true measures of public opinion. So I did a block quote in my article this morning, what I just read you. Then right after I start, I have several Trump tweets. This one, and the Trump-a-loompas have been cutting and pasted this thing like crazy ever since yesterday, but it's he has an image somebody put together for him. It's huge at the top, Donald J. Trump, and then a little bit smaller, wins first presidential debate, make America great again, and then on and on. And he's got copy and paste from Drudge and Patch and Breitbart and Heavy, whatever the hell that is, political, and every one of them has him, up by 80% or whatever. So he says, such a great honor. Final debate polls are in. Hang on just a second. I got to talk to Donald directly. Donald, there haven't even been any poll results. I'm talking about real polls. There haven't even been any poll results released. There may be one today, but there will be real polls released tomorrow and Thursday, and Friday. So no, final poll results are not in. And the movement wins. Then his next one, wow, did great. This is quintessential Trump. Wow, did great at the debate polls, except for CNN, which I don't watch. So he buys Snap poll results, Jessica, except from the ones he doesn't like, but then he completely dismisses them as they don't matter because he doesn't watch CNN. I mean, you can't make it up.
I don't know.
You can't make it up.
It, yeah.
Every online poll, Time Magazine, Drudge, etc., has me winning the debate. This was this morning after a phone in to Fox and Friends. Thank you to Fox and Friends for so reporting. Crowdhammer last night hammered these Snap polls, called them totally meaningless. He said, I guarantee you could have an online poll, could ask who had the better hair, and Trump would still get 80%. It's true. So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't take much stock in any polls ever, so whatever.
Well, no, and even a scientific poll, again, conducted randomly.
Well, the CNN one that they did right after the debate, they even admitted right on the air that they had oversampled Democrats. So.
Yeah, they always do. Most of those polls conducted for media, for most media outlets, they do oversample Democrats, and they all admit it. But they do. They're jokes. But to your point, I mean, even a scientific poll with a random sampling conducted nationwide is no more than a snapshot in time. These Snap polls, these online polls are silliness. They're just and Drudge. I mean, Drudge does his and he trumpets it at the top, and it's always got Trump. Well, during the primaries, right? Every one of those things on Drudge, they had 85% of people saying Trump won. And it's just silliness. But again, even a legitimate poll, Quinnipiac or Marist or Gallup or whomever, they're snapshots in time. So anyway, we did one, by the way. Did you see anything I posted about that? We did I
didn't see that.
We hooked up with Google Consumer Surveys. We being IJR did a scientific poll, if you will. Showed Hillary winning 52-48. It did oversample a bit Republicans. Okay, But still, it had Hillary 52-48. Interestingly, though, almost 66% of people, when asked about should third-party candidates participate, said no. As of today, which candidate do you support? Trump by a hair, 45.7 to 44. Which candidate was most honest during the debate? Trump by less than a point. And on it went. So I don't know. It's just, I thought it was going to be a three-ring circus. I think everybody did. I just didn't think that Lester Holt, in my humble opinion, would outdo Candy Crowley, because she just had that one shot, where she defended Obama in terms of calling.
Well, that one was, but when Candy Crowley did it, I feel like when Lester Holt did it, it didn't have as much weight as when Candy Crowley did it. It was like, it was one shot, but it totally took the air out of everything in that.
Oh yeah, because Romney had him on the mat, and Romney destroyed. Do you remember the first debate in 2012?
Yeah.
Romney destroyed Obama. Obama was flat-footed. He didn't know what to do. He wasn't used to people getting in his face because he'd been president for almost 4 years. But right when Romney's got his foot on his neck, you're right. I mean, she jerked his foot off his neck, and that changed the direction of that debate.
Completely.
You've been paying attention to, of course, Hillary hit him. One of the things she hit him with we haven't talked about was this whole Miss Universe thing. Alicia Machado, or whatever the hell her name is.
Yeah.
Alicia Machado.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Piggy and Miss, what else did he call her? Miss Housekeeper, presumably because she's Latino. What do you think about that whole thing? That's where he should have hammered her again on the Monica stuff and Jennifer Flower stuff. But do you see the story about her, former Miss Universe?
No, I did not.
About the allegation that she was a murder accomplice?
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
This is actually true, by the way.
What?
Yeah, this is on Mediaite. Former Miss Universe Machado on allegation she was a murder accomplice. Quote, "I'm not a saint girl." Let's see. And this is actually Anderson Cooper, for whom I have respect. He said there are reports. This is him talking to her. He said there are reports that Trump surrogates tonight have been referencing and pointing to on CNN. That doesn't make any sense. You guys need to proofread. But pointing to CNN and elsewhere about an incident in 1998 in Venezuela where you were accused, and there's a link under these next several words, where you were accused of driving a getaway car from a murder scene. You were never charged with this, Cooper said. He continues, the judge in this case also said you threatened to kill him after he indicted your boyfriend for the attempted murder. I just want to give you a chance to address these reports that the Trump surrogates are talking about. He can say whatever he wants to say. I don't care, she said. I have my past. Of course, everybody has a past. I'm not a saint girl, but that is not the point now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's real, too.
I can't. Yeah, I thought, that was just
and then
America.
she concludes with, she says, this is a quote, he can use whatever he wants to use. The point is that happened 20 years ago.
That's crazy to me. When we went from, wasn't it, oh my gosh, Vanessa Williams that had to give up her crown. Oh,
she had posed nude?
Because she posed nude for a magazine or something a long time ago.
That wouldn't. Do you think that would happen today?
No.
I mean,
I think they'd celebrate that today.
I think so too.
But I think it's
that
also very different, different from a murder accomplice. Like, what?
Yeah. And she's dismissing it. She says it happened 20 years ago. Well, how the hell many years ago did the Miss Universe thing happen?
Seriously.
And there's also video out there. There's video of him teasing her about this, and she's laughing. And then he's being self-deprecating. He goes, I exercise as little as possible or whatever. But he's referring to his own weight, and they were laughing. And then there's some news people there. You can't see him in the shot, but that are apparently heavy. And Trump is teasing them too. And this Machado is laughing her ass off while he's doing it. And now, she's on Megyn Kelly, right? Tuesday night?
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? This must stop now for all of us. Screw you. I mean, she wants 15 minutes more fame. But this thing here, and look, this is separate. I mean, okay, so she was never charged, but she was accused of driving the getaway car from a murder scene. That is or it isn't. But I think that has nothing to do with whether Trump should have called her, the names in public and whatever. But again, she laughed about it at the time and laughed when he was joking around with some other people in the room.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. That's interesting.
Yeah. I think we have time for this Mika clip.
Okay.
Donald Trump is on Fox and Friends this morning, and he's they're talking about this. But let's just and Mika was not happy with those two men and a woman, how they responded. Let's listen to Mika.
The reaction he got.
All right, let's read it.
The former Miss Universe, who was thrust into the national spotlight during the first presidential debate, is speaking out. As you'll recall, Hillary Clinton brought up the story of Alicia Machado, the 1996 Miss Universe, in making a point about Donald Trump's remark about women. Clinton claimed Trump called Machado, quote, Miss Piggy, and also Miss Housekeeping because she was Latina. Here's how Donald Trump defended those remarks yesterday.
When she brought up the person that became, I know that person. That person was a Miss Universe person, and she was the worst we ever had. The worst, the absolute worst. She was impossible. And she was a Miss Universe contestant and ultimately a winner who they had a tremendously difficult time with as Miss Universe. She was the winner, and, she gained a massive amount of weight. And it was a real problem. We had a real problem. Not only that, her attitude, and we had a real problem with her. So Hillary went back into the years, and she found this girl. This was many years ago, and found the girl and talked about her like she was Mother Teresa. And it wasn't quite that way, but that's okay. Hillary has to do what she has to do.
They looked uncomfortable.
That conversation went on. And no one said to him, what? Excuse me, did you just say what? Did you say she gained a lot of weight and that was a problem? Well, I've never seen a more awkward interview in my life, and quite frankly, the most unfulfilling interview in my life.
Well, we conduct those too.
How could they not ask him? How could two men and a woman in this day and age who know this world that we live in not say that is incredibly inappropriate? Would you like to rephrase yourself? Are you saying that the fact that this woman gained weight is a problem? Did you just say that?
This is about Donald Trump, and what's incredible, Mika, is... What is incredible, Mika, is this is about Donald Trump. Let's focus on Donald Trump. What's incredible about Donald Trump is that after getting caught the night before with something he did 20 years ago that was terrible, he then doubles down and says she was the worst contestant ever and she gained a lot of weight. That's just unbelievable. The day after debate, he makes
She was livid, wasn't she?
Yeah, she came completely unglued. She was she couldn't believe herself.
And
like, just her face.
Poor old Joe's sitting there. I mean, he doesn't know what to do.
Well, he was just like, hey, hold on. Okay, calm down. We conduct these interviews like this every day. Yeah, that's crazy.
All right, are we about out of here? We are about out of here. Listen, you guys, that half hour went very quickly, didn't it? And I suspect the next one will as well, because as promised, my brother from another black mother, Watson Prunier, will join us. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Will I be a good man? Will I be true? True to myself.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Welcome back. As promised, my brother from another mother, Watson, when I was putting this up on Facebook this morning, the tease. By the way, something's going on weird with Facebook, because when you put a link in, at least when I did, and it didn't matter where it was from this morning, when you put a link in a post, normally, you get the drop-down thing and the image and the headline and everything, and it wasn't happening. All I can see is the link. So, but that's another story. Anyway, so I wanted to use your sense of humor, but I thought people wouldn't get it. But I wanted to say my brother from another, and then in parentheses, black mother, but I thought people would freak out about that because they wouldn't get it. Anyway, welcome to the show. Welcome back, brother.
Oh, great to be back. It's been a while. Just good to even speak to my island sister.
Hey there.
You guys, I kind of feel left out. I mean, like the old white guy here,
Well, we are island brothers from the island of Indiana.
Well, that's true. We're our isolated own little island in flyover country.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Well, you know what? It's just good to be back. Good to be back.
It's good to have you back, man. I don't know how far we go back, but I remember back when we all were at another network, as they say, and you had actually been either calling in or writing in to shows before I even put up a show there. So, I mean, we go way back. We've had some great conversations along the way. Of course, there's nothing going on these days to talk about, right?
Nothing at all. I mean, nothing happening in, at Hofstra University, especially considering that that's only 15 minutes away from where I grew up.
Really?
Yeah. 15 minutes away from where I grew up.
Did you guys see, by the way, speaking of the debate at Hofstra, they had up, and there were images of it online. In fact, I believe I wrote an article about it, where they had up the dopey trigger warning sign. And it said, X amount of feet beyond this sign, all this horrible stuff might happen. And that thing got on social media, and they put that thing in a closet as quickly as they could. They took that sucker down.
What? I think we need less triggers and more common sense.
Yeah, or less triggers and more warnings about left-wing loons is maybe.
Exactly.
You know what? Because everyone knows there are trigger warnings in life when you get out of school, right? At jobs, and they don't keep score, and everybody. No, there aren't. Get over your snowflake self and get a life. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's just you know what? It's because of the fact that the victimhood mentality is like the quickest way to 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah. Speaking of 15 seconds of fame, this Miss Universe, Alicia Machado. So she's on Megyn Kelly's show Tuesday night. Imagine that. And then I just informed Jessica, which is true, that this woman 20 years ago in Venezuela was accused of being accomplice to murder, of driving her boyfriend's getaway car from a murder scene. She was never charged. She basically admitted doing it. She threatened to kill the judge that indicted her boyfriend afterwards. So, Hillary's putting her up as this poor little abused Latino, just, that might blow up in Hillary's face.
Oh, definitely. Just like the people who continue to, look at the craziness that they did during the Democratic convention, and they wind up putting up the mothers of hoodlums who were basically put to silence. It's like, yeah, that's really good. Keep lifting up the criminals, and let us law-abiding citizens feel like we're doing something wrong. I don't think so.
No, I forget who it was. Was it a man? I can see her picture. I want to say she's in Charlotte. Maybe the president of I think this is correct. The NAACP chapter in Charlotte came out and said, and I wrote an article for IJ about this. It didn't even matter if Scott had a gun anyway. It was the police. It was the job of the police to de-escalate the situation.
Well, you know what? Bullets are the best way of de-escalating things.
Yeah. So,
and hey, if I have to use bullets, I will use bullets to de-escalate a situation that's out of control if I need to.
I'm sure you saw the videos, right? Of the actual event.
Oh, definitely. The one that I thought was very interesting was when his wife showed her video.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And so, initially I'm like, okay, yeah, there's no gun by his foot. But, we're thinking, okay, let me get this straight, though. Even if we ignore the gun not by the foot, don't do it, Keith.
Exactly.
Don't do it, Keith.
Exactly. Don't do what, right?
Don't do what?
Keith,
read a book?
Yeah, Keith, don't read that book. Don't open that book, Keith. Come on.
Stay away from chapter 1. It's bad for you, Keith. It's bad. Really, come on now.
But when you have, you and I have talked about this a lot in the past. You go back to, well, heck, we used to talk about if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. But you go back to Ferguson and Michael Brown. You've had people since saying it doesn't matter if he had his hands in his arms in the air or not, hands in the air or not. And now we have. It doesn't matter if he had a gun or not. The police should have de-escalated that situation. A guy comes out of a car with gun in hand, and his wife is, well, even if it's not in hand, it was cocked. They show it laying on the ground cocked. But you have his wife saying, don't do it, Keith, don't do it, Keith. How in the hell do you think that you have time to get into negotiations with this guy when you're ordering him multiple times to drop the gun and he doesn't do it?
Exactly. So why create more victims because of politically correct nonsense that ignores common sense? You rejected all the other orders, and even going back to the moron in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He didn't have to be shot. He was already being tased. Tasers don't always work.
Yeah.
Tasers don't always work. And second of all, look, the guy moved back 75 feet from his original position where he had his hands up, and he walked back to his vehicle. A compliant individual would have dropped to their knees and allowed themselves to be arrested. But you moved from your initial position to the vehicle. You created yourself as a potential threat that needed to be eliminated.
Anybody that knows anything about law enforcement knows that a police officer cannot afford to let a suspect walk back to his car.
Exactly. And this is, working on what you're saying about the woman from the NAACP chapter from North Carolina. So they operate under the premise, Mike, that because police officers are doing their job, they automatically assume the risk and they don't have to go back home to their families.
Yeah, these are human beings with loved ones.
It drives me up the wall. But the better one was, did you see the video of the Free Hugs project?
Yes, I did see that.
And you saw how that black guy wanted to beat the other black guy up for actually hugging police officers?
Yeah, he was ticked off.
I'm sitting here thinking, go ahead, Mike, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm like, someone had shared something from Occupy Democrats for I guess it was a congresswoman who was basically complaining about the poor excuses that they're making for shooting blacks, and we're tired of it. And someone basically said that some writers basically said that blacks are living constantly, are living in rage, and there has to be a lot of repenting and confessions of sins going on. And the only reason why blacks are this frustrated and angry is because of institutional racism.
Systemic institutional racism, yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, no, you still have an opportunity and an obligation to respond. And if you choose to be violent, there are consequences that come with a violent action.
Always. I put up a post on IJ over the weekend. Headline, it's Larry Elder, and I love Larry Elder, by the way. He gets the crap beat out of him in California on his radio show. But my headline says, Larry Elder offers a few helpful tips on how to, quote, not die, and that was his terminology, but how to not die if you're ever pulled over by the cops. You all right, man?
I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. So in 20 words, Larry Elder explains how not to die if the police pull you over. Quote, if you're ever pulled over by an officer, be polite, be respectful, comply with lawful orders, and you will not die. Right?
Pretty simple.
And it doesn't matter if you're black, purple, orange, chartreuse, glow in the dark, translucent. It doesn't matter what color you are. If you follow those rules right there, or those words of wisdom, you will not die. You will not die. I also, at the bottom of that thing, do you remember the old classic Chris Rock video, How Not to Get Your Ass Kicked by the Police?
I love that one.
I actually added that to the end. I had to say, I had to put up a trigger warning, of course, that there's going to be there's some pretty strong language. But I hadn't seen that thing for years, and I had to watch it twice, man. But he, you know what? A little bit different style, but he was right as well.
I'm halfway tempted to actually contact all my police officer friends and actually create a newer video.
It's a good idea. You know what? That would be an outstanding idea. Right there would be an outstanding idea. Do a video with cops, each one given a different tip on here's how not to get your ass kicked, or here's how not to die, or here's not to get your look. Nothing ever good comes from disobeying orders from a police officer or trying to flee a police officer. Nothing good ever comes from that.
But no one wants to pay attention to that reality.
There's a judge, I think, Supreme Court justice, I think, a Massachusetts Supreme Court justice. I wrote about this last week, who said, you know what, it's actually okay in some instances for blacks to run from the police. Did you see that story? That was on the wires for a while. But it stemmed from what became known as the Terry Act. It goes back years, I don't know how many years ago. I mean, not forever ago, but there was a burglary in some neighborhood in Boston. And so a robbery, and police officers were kind of scouring the neighborhood, looking for, whatever. And they came across these two young black men. They were wearing hoodies. This was pre-St. Skittles. And they sorry. But they,
I love that.
Yeah, so he grabs them, takes them into apparently not airtight custody, because they run. One of them is arrested, and ultimately this thing went through the courts but gets off because they said, again, you refer to it as institutional, I would call it systemic, but systemic racism, that some young black men are predisposed to think about their safety in a different context, so it's okay for them to run. I think that's complete nonsense. If you're innocent,
there's no reason to run.
There's no reason to run. So anyway, all right, we ate up half of the segment talking about that stuff, but it's just craziness. And you used the word common sense at least twice so far, and you're exactly right. I mean, if everybody is like common sense, man, take a deep breath, quit being asinine, and things might go a little bit better. All right, so let's flip it over to, we alluded to Trump and the debate. I mean, just kind of in a nutshell, what was your take?
Basically, there's a movie called, even a video game called Mortal Kombat. I would almost rate it as Mortal Wombat.
I like it. I like that. You think, I asked Jessica at the beginning of the show, do you think anybody that went in thinking Hillary was not a likable person, do you think she changed any minds?
No, definitely not. And it's interesting because I have friends here in Indiana who always have voted Democrat. And I mean, I have one friend, she's always voted for Democrat, and she is completely determined that she will not vote for Hillary. And she's getting a lot of grief from her Democrat friends right now who cannot believe that they would vote in the racist,
Yeah. Was she going to vote for Trump, or is she just not going to vote?
That's a question. I think she's deciding that she may not, but I don't think she's going to vote for Trump.
I wouldn't think. Yeah, I wouldn't think most people that are lifelong Democrats are going to flip. Some are. I mean, there are a lot of Democrats for Trump out there, but I don't know. I don't think either one of them moved the needle. I mean, Hillary won the debate on points, if you will, and Donald Trump messed up, I think, tremendously. You and I talked off air earlier this morning that he's got to stop feeling he has to go to the mat to defend himself on every charge she throws at him, because that causes you to play defense the entire debate.
Exactly. And instead of playing the defense, why don't you put her on the defense? Because there's more information to basically condemn her for her actions. Instead, he's playing defense, and everybody assumed him to be this big offensive player. But there was no offense on his part.
And I was surprised. Were you not?
Oh, annoyed. Annoyed because it's like, come on, dude. Everybody assumed that you were going to be this bulldog, even more ferocious than Ted Cruz. And then when you're presented with the opportunity, you're nothing but a flat tire.
Yeah, it was really bad. And I know you're, and I say this affectionately, of course, a never Trumper.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really surprised. I thought he would, because it was common themes that he's talked about for a year,
Yes.
And when she comes out and starts talking about internet security, as an example, I mean, if that wasn't a big fat softball right across the plate as it relates to her use of a private server unsecure, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what was.
And getting it scrubbed.
Yeah.
And getting it scrubbed. Oh, hey, wait, security, let's go. Between your servers and the 13 devices that you smashed?
Yeah, with a hammer. Who does that? I would have loved to jerk Lester Holt out of his chair and ask Hillary a few questions. He did not ask her about the emails. He didn't ask her about Benghazi. And he didn't ask her about the entanglement between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department, let alone, the Clinton Foundation as it relates to the Russian uranium deal and everything else. So he didn't ask her anything about that.
Yeah, and even the money, I think even the effects of what was going on even in Haiti.
Yeah.
Even what was going on in Haiti. Hello? You have information here. Why aren't you even touching this stuff? You're leaving it alone. And I think what he really needs to do as well is if the next moderator tries to do the same exact nonsense, just say, what, are you going to go do Candy Crowley / Lester Holt on me?
It's going to be Martha Raddatz. Of course she's going to. I think that I told Jessica, I think that the Republican Party half deserves this kind of crap.
Yeah.
Because they agree to it every cycle. Every time. I mean, I was thinking, and you maybe saw this on Facebook, but Lester, I'm pretending to be Lester. Madam Secretary, you've said on numerous occasions that you did nothing wrong. In fact, you've actually said you were permitted to use a private email account. Given that, can you please explain to the audience why your top aide, Cheryl Mills, and the IT guy who set up your internet system, your email system, were granted immunity from the FBI during a criminal investigation, and that IT guy pled the fifth, this is true, 125 times in a row during his FBI deposition. Can you please explain to me, if you did nothing wrong, why that happened?
Exactly. But no asking of these critical questions.
None.
And so here's my, tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is if he chooses to continue to remain docile over the next few debates going into the, I'm hoping that he's not trying to use WikiLeaks as his means of having her exposed without going for the jugular.
October surprise, right?
Yeah, don't wait for the October surprise. Basically, drop your surprise now.
Now, where I thought you were headed with the tinfoil hat conspiracy thing was that old familiar tune about like that he only got in this race to guarantee Hillary a win. I thought that.
That's still my belief is that he is not in it to win it, and he is only basically just paving a nice path for her to go in.
Now, I will buy this. This is not really a rumor, but this thought that what he's really doing, he knows he's not going to win, or has thought that probably the chances are greater not than he would, but that this tremendous exposure and his now deep involvement in politics, that he's paving the way to create his own cable network.
Most likely,
yeah,
most likely.
That I buy. That is not out of the realm of me being able to believe it. So,
and when you look at what he's doing, even before anyone was selected, even when they were 17, I knew that basically the election was going to go to Clinton because of the fact that it just seemed like they had decided last year who's going to be president. And now you sit here and you watch all these things of them striking down voter ID laws in all these different states. Well, you know exactly why that is. And then when you turn around and you accidentally give to a bunch of Muslim immigrants who were on a terrorist watch list, accidentally give them citizenship. You have governors who are basically freeing prisoners so that they can have voter ID. And
you have what Terry McAuliffe did in Virginia, giving the vote to convicted felons.
So you know that this is basically to build up your user base that's going to sit there and vote for you 6 or 7 times, like the black woman in Ohio who basically got her hand slapped and patted on the back by Eric Holder.
Mm-hmm. Eric, my people Holder.
Yeah, my people Holder.
I don't think it's this kind of this monolithic, mysterious behind closed doors thing. I just think that the Democrats, that liberalism in this country, I mean, they're so entrenched at various levels and various organizations and, throughout the country, and states and municipalities and whatever, that it's just all, they're doing what you're saying. But I don't think it's this whole big, that the, I don't know, almost like the old Bilderberg thing or one world order, only one, just as it relates to the country and what we're talking about. I don't think it's that, but I just think that, sure. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, how many times have we said if Gallup and Quinnipiac and whatever went down to the border and they were polling illegals coming across and saying, one question, for whom would you vote if you were given the opportunity? And if 75% of them said Republican, you'd have Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama locked arm in arm across the entire border, doing everything they could to keep these people out.
Exactly. And, and whoever's paying for these rioters that come into the country, they would actually be lined up against the border as well.
Yeah. It's just, man, crazy times, Common sense, Watson. That's the theme of the day. Common sense. All right, brother, we got a minute to go, and we got to keep this thing. I'm bad at the time, but tell folks where to find you.
Basically, same website, www.battle4freedom.com. I'm on Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Lanterns Radio Network, and just basically on the team with you, brother.
Hook up with Watson on Sunday nights. Man, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. We got to do this some more. I'll come on your show on Sunday night, too.
Oh, definitely.
All right. We'll talk later. Love Watson, Jessica. Love Watson.
He's great.
He's always great, man. Yep. He's always great. He's my brother from another black mother. Look, we got to get out of here, you guys. Thanks for listening. This hour went quickly. We will be back next Monday, The Mike Miller Show with Jessica Jane. Bye.
I think it's time to get